Just like that, it's here once again. TGIF. Maybe. It's going to be a busy one for me. That I can tell you. I've got to go out of town. Well, the entire family's got to go out of town.
Let go. Asteroid of fear.
And on that note, welcome to Unfiltered Friday. Here at the Men of the House, I'll do the little cut for the start. Check, check, cut, cut. Any hoodles? Welcome, welcome, welcome. And let me make sure I'm recording. Yeah, I am. Oh, these glasses are foggy. And it is windy. Maybe. I don't know what it's like. Because it's really not Friday. Although you're hearing this on Friday. And by the time you're hearing this, who knows what time it'll be. Will I be on the road? Will I be en route? So, to the Super Bowl, that's where I'm headed. Not, but we are headed to a celebration of life. I believed I talked about that last Friday. We had a passing away of somebody in the family, and we'll be going out of town for that. Therefore, it is going to be, it'll be what we make it. I was going to say long weekend, no longer than any other, but it's going to be filled with a lot of people, guessing, a lot of memories, a lot of emotion, 100%. And, we all get to choose how, well, sort of. I guess attending, we get to choose how we want to, whether we want to celebrate it, how we want to remember it. Of course, we can't control all the emotions that come up, but, depending on where you are in life and whether you or not you have advanced directives, wills, living wills and trusts, life insurance, all that jazz, you know, some of that can be controlled. I guess that's what we'll talk about today. I don't know if I told you guys, but you all know me. I believe I told you about attending a death doula training and getting invited to a second one. And then I think you would have the opportunity to sign up. I may or may not have said I signed up and had orientation this past Monday. So in 90 days, I will be a certified, end of life doula, care coordinator, and elder care person. I believe I did say that on the last Unfiltered Friday. I feel like I read it from the thing or what it would be. But it's official. It's going down. It's happening. And this is where I said you have the opportunity. Now, I know a lot of this, I haven't gotten into it yet, but I'm aware of the premise and the concept of what an end of life doula part of it before your resourcing, helping resource families. But one of the roles is doing these peace of mind planning sessions with families. And That's something that I'll be charging for and doing. And there will be more details to come. But essentially, you have the option to, do you want to have a funeral or do you want to have a funeral? Or do you want to have a celebration of life? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? Those are all questions we're all going to have to answer. I'm sorry if it makes you uncomfortable. But I had to be uncomfortable at a very young age regarding all this. And, I've thought about it various times through my life. Of course, when I was in the military, and you're signing life insurance policies. Um, I'm going to be 50 this year. Many of my peers, people I went to high school with, if some of them that haven't already passed, we're on the other side. We're old. We were born in the 1900s. I guess is what the kids say. But we're not old enough that we walked uphill both ways. So, as it relates to life, I guess we're on the downhill part since we didn't walk uphill both ways like builders and boomers. And oh, got to keep some light in there, a little light and laughter in this dark, dark world. But on a serious note, yes, you are going to have to decide on some of these things. Um, we're at the stage with, like, I think I've mentioned my father with his Parkinson's and just doing different things like being assigned to the bank accounts. And we did some of this. I believe in the caregiving giving chronicles. I discussed some of this because Buck was an individual. He did not have a medical power of attorney. He made his own decisions, did his own thing, and you know that can make it hard to assist. But um, some people are going to need those things. You need to decide ahead of time, and I'm going to be the person to help you out because you're going to come to me for one of these peace of mind planning sessions. Why? Well, because I give a shit. That's why. I care about life. I value life. I value the in between moments. Everybody thinks life is these big moments, your graduation, you're this, you're that. But, you know, life is all the stuff happening in between, the daily, the mundane, so to speak. Unless you tweeze out these little special moments happening everywhere, you can even participate in them if you wish. I had a wonderful conversation with somebody earlier, and I mentioned my wife's best friend being Cambodian, and this person's like, "Oh, I'm Cambodian," and talked about coming here 20 years ago and having a sponsor family, and coming from Alabama to this location, and still going back to Cambodia a couple times a year to visit her dad. Her dad still lives there, and you know, I'm talking about podcasting and how that relates, and with an end of life service that I'm going to be providing, I'm going to offer this legacy package for, so people can hear, these things are important because, like, this person, I don't know if she had children, was married, not married, whatever. Um, but that is a lineage story that if she has children or, that they want to know. And then those kids, why isn't her father here? If I interviewed her. Because I think I even asked, like, could you live there, retire there? Because, like, cost of living is different. That's one of those things. And um, we're also seeing, different people. depart the U.S. for foreign countries. So, and she said, no, it was just different. She really liked it here much more. Um, and that kind of the culture there was, well, very much like the U.S., there's the have and the have nots. And a lot of the haves look down on the have nots. And, you know, like I always say, I mean, you're going to get the same ending. So you may think you're better, but you're not. You might have better things, but, it's really all about who you are, your character. Um, but I guess there, too, culturally, it's different. And I'm certain that plays a part into it, but it's just interesting. And it's all the stuff I love, podcasting, stories, whys, hows, um, answering all that, being a part of all that. And then, of course, with the end of life thing, like I said, you have this opportunity to make that part of your story. Decide some things, Um, some things might be decided for you. Accidents happen. Bad things happen all the time. There are things we can't control. But somebody like Buck, who ended up in hospice, he had a living will, so there was directions exactly what needed to happen. But you can also have what needs to happen and who needs to get what should an accident happen. You know, you don't want. Do you want the government taking over your shit? It gets donated to them or awarded to the state. Really? I mean, let's just get real. The fucking government can't manage two fucking pennies. Probably why they're taking them out of circulation. Do you want them stepping into your affairs when it comes to end of life? No. So, and you're going to keep listening here, and in 90 days, you're going to hit me up. 100%. I'm your guy. And I'm excited. I'm a little behind. Got lots of work to do. Need to be in the Facebook groups, and I mean, it's got to be front site focused. Next 90 days, this has got to be it because this this is the launch. Um, it's almost like the business coaching I've done, but on steroids because it is so specific to becoming an end of life doula, which of course is a very specific thing. So yeah, it's got to be on steroids. But then that's just kind of the start, and um, I think there's 3 online events at least a week, and possibly a fourth if you attend some of the cafes they call them. So there's quite a bit of participation. Um, this wasn't something I planned for, and it's not really one of these self-paced things on purpose. She's like, you got to have a start and a finish date and hold the feet to the fire, but very supportive. They have a team that'll check in on you, um, on the back end, see how much you're logging in. Are you getting stuck anywhere? Kind of like concierge. And we have working and co-working hours, so you can answer if you have any questions and whatnot. And what's kind of cool is there's two groups. I think I'm in group two, and there's group one. Obviously, no, it could have been in group three. Um, they're ahead of us, and so in some of these co-working sessions, you have the opportunity to ask people who've already been where you've been. So not only do you get the benefit of um, the instructor cadre, you get the benefit of people on your path, um, 4 or 5 modules ahead. So I plan to utilize it. I've got so many notes I need to like transcribe into legible stuff, but super the people in my group cohort, I don't know a lot of them, but the people I've met or engaged with or taken notice of have all seemed very, very cool. And they come from all kinds of backgrounds. One of the meetings I was in today had a anesthesiologist in there, so it's like, bam. Uh, Another person from Costa Rica who works in the psychedelic space. So I thought that, you know, again, something I'm interested in down the road. And so knowing that kind of that's out there and or making connections and contacts that can maybe assist in help facilitating stuff like that, be it information or getting down to Costa Rica for some plant medicine. Combine that with want to say they have some Andy Stump and them do like some jujitsu stuff down there. I think it's SPG. I don't know who does the program, but I know him, his wife. We go to Cleared Hot podcast with Andy Stump. You can find it there, but they do like a Costa Rican BJJ. I don't know if it's like a weekly, like an immersion camp type thing. I know Jocko has one in Maine, I think. Um, if you're familiar with Jocko. If you're not familiar, then hmm, maybe you've been under a rock. You're not into self improvement or leadership. And he's got a lot of kid stuff. That's going to be coming out with a movie. So if you don't know who Jocko is, look him up, get some. Yeah, that's what he would say. A lot of good stuff. Extreme ownership. I've got some of his books, some ebooks, some stuff. I listen to his podcasts, not as much as I used to. I probably should listen to it more. But I like it all. He's also got good supplements. Speaking of which, I just got the fruity cereal Mulk, Jocko Mulk. His uh his protein's pretty good. His ready to drinks. All his stuff is pretty good. Quality. And USA are all about. He has a Origin clothing line and they manufacture that in Maine. The whole story is kind of cool. I mean, I've been following along since, they put it like, I think, an old loom. They do jujitsu gis, they do pants, boots, apparel, supplements. But American made, manufactured, part of that whole let's bring manufacturing back to the USA and skills. Yeah, I believe there was only a handful of people who knew how to operate this thing that they got and restored. But it, much like end of life doula stuff, it's these things that people used to pass down, skills, knowledge, is so much more than, you know, I make shoes or whatever. I don't know. Everything's about perspective. It's how you look at it. That's why you're here. And that's what I'm here to do is to help hopefully introduce new perspectives, host guests who offer different perspectives. That way you can know that, hey, you're not alone. Somebody else has gone through this. Maybe there's a different way to look at something, a different way to enjoy it. You know, you probably get it if you're older. I don't know how much the younger kids get it because it's so digital, but and things just arrive at your doorstep. But yeah, everything has to be made by someone. If you got kids listening, or if you're a younger person listening, whether it's made in the USA, China, making furniture, all kind, carpentry, everything. Now it's more about either crazy design or cheap or whatever. But I think back in the day, they just took it. If you look at history, Rome, sculptures, they just took, did things on a different level. Things took time, effort. And our culture is not about fucking time and effort. They're about fast and now. Who's winning the AI race? Yeah. As I was looking like things I could talk about on a Unfiltered Friday, I just put like headlines and, happening this week. And what was I going to click on? It's like, do I really trust any of the news sources? I mean, I guess like I just go to Yahoo because I have Yahoo on my thing, or I read just general captions, or not general captions, general ideas like, hey, this is what's going on. And it's usually bullshit. If I'm interested in anything, I'll cross reference it. I got, you look at what CNN says about it, what Fox says about it, what MSNBC says about it, what NPR says about it, what whoever. But most of it is bullshit. Hence, um, you know, I'm no Elon Musk and planning to colonize Mars. Um, so yeah, I'm not leaving. My purpose was not to build a bridge or a legacy as such. Um, I was put here for different reasons. As it relates to making history. And this, something that I might find was, oh, at 82, he's as fit as a 20-year-old. His body holds clues to healthy aging. Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying. Well, I was putting to the death business, the business of dying. But I don't really consider that actually, because you're transitioning. And I'm in the transition business. which could sound, if you go back a year or two, I don't know if that's still a thing. Um, I'm in the people business, which almost everything is, but be it a message, be it words, perspective, caring for people, assisting people, filling in the gaps where I can. Um, yeah, I'm in the people business, which I love because connections matter, people matter. Hmm. So yeah, I might look at things like that interest me, but no, the world is crazy at the moment. I'm grateful that I'm somewhere where there's no rioting and none of that stuff going on. Be grateful for that. And what else am I looking for here? Was I looking for wait, oh, Pine Town. Let's see, the most romantic Zermatt, Switzerland. I know I've been to Switzerland. I fell in a well in Switzerland when I was 3 and we were visiting my uncle in Germany, but I don't remember it. I would like to go back as an adult. Huh. The real reason behind the Alzheimer's crisis in the US. Yeah. Well, and speaking of helping people, I have a friend who um, his family has asked, just for input here and there and or, whatever you want to call it, translation, sitting in and but having conversations around health, healthcare, and or planning, you know, and man, I'm telling you, the insurance, they just make it impossible, man. It is such, they just, they don't leave the elderly with a ton of good options. And, they're already on a fixed income. They lose mobility. They're not out there socializing. Maybe some, depending. All these things are dependent. Culture, environment, location, personal preference. I know people who like to be alone. And I know older people who are very active and kind of social. I wouldn't say overly social, but yeah. And so insurance comes along and, they just make it, damn damn near impossible to get what you need. I mean, even my insurance, I'm already having to, either I pay for it cash out of pocket and then resubmit for reimbursement, or you don't take the medicine you need. Or, like for me, if it's TRT that you get off schedule, um, and you delay it, which I had like before, and it's like, man, I'm just now getting it in range and getting it better. And you're asking for all this extra stuff, and it's throwing me off. Now imagine it. That's just me and one thing that's not life threatening. So, when you start getting into bigger surgeries, longer stays, certain disease processes that require more assistance, families either they have to hire people um, to help, or family has to do it. I mean, insurance will cover some things, but not a ton of assistance. And then that means what? Somebody's got to take off of work to help out every time something happens, depending on, if you have an elderly couple. If one's mobile, one's not, one has to take care of the other. Um, or you have two that are, I've been to places where both were sick. That's a lot. But yeah, somewhere between, man, somewhere between women's rights equality and uh, traditional roles, or one person staying home, to now double working households and huh, double taxes for the government to go to places that we have no say over. Mm. Yeah. And now we've created this system, this way that has become just kind of like a shitty standard. Now almost two people have to work. Insurance and big pharma fucking rakes you over the coals that, man, you've got to plan your shit out. You've got to be healthy. You've got to stave off as much illness as possible through health, nutrition, mental health, whatever you can do to get the edge and keep the edge, do it. Because when it gets ugly, them insurance companies, unless something changes, man, it's like even if you, let's say you needed a few extra days, let's say insurance gives you 21 days or something, and you need a few extra. Um, and maybe you don't want to pay copay that could range anywhere from $50 a day to $1,200 a day, depending where you're at. $300 a day. I think that's where Buck was. And he had good. He had military insurance, retirement state of Texas insurance, I believe. He got a lot, but still. But yeah, you need a few extra days. Oh, the insurance company, they can't review it. It's got to be a third party that they've outsourced. Oh my God. A third party who knows even less about you than your insurance company. Man, yeah. We put ourselves in a real pickle here with our healthcare system. It was way too much for me to fix. Hell, I couldn't even get out of first gear in the corporate world. Always the brother man instead of the other man. They try to keep you down. Hence why I'm going solo. Solopreneur. Yeah, I trust me and I trust that I'll do what's right. And hopefully, sometime between now and I age, maybe some better brains will get in there, some logic, some rationale, um, take some of the emotion out of it, and maybe we can fix our system. If we're going to lead with emotion, then let it be love. Love for humanity, love for our fellow brothers and sisters, um, our fellow citizens, our fellow countrymen. Starts with you, your family, your circle, your neighborhood, your town. Yep, you get to choose how you want to act there, what you want to contribute. But I know we got generational things, all that old money. Um, and then we got people that are way too far out there that, you know, the opposite of old money and Quaker values and stuff to, like I said, transition specialist. Yeah. And you get back in the middle, like I said, logic and rationale. But you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I'm out there trying to be part of the solution in a different and better way. But yeah, we'll see how this impacts interviews, et cetera, et cetera. But hopefully, I can get on a track. Like I said, I got to be front sight focused for the next 90 days. But if I can, I will. And I'm certain opportunities are going to come along. And yeah, I got to screw my head on, buckle in, um, and get this done. So, hope you guys have a great weekend. And until next time, go out and be the person that you want to meet. Peace.
Asteroid of fear.